London, stand up. Look, I don't celebrate. Everyone scream next up, but I'm the number one candidate. Number one. Captain's armband, I'm making key plays. When I'm doing shows, gotta get all prepaid. 42 flavors, I'm on a tea break. No side, not about these ways. I gotta let my skin fade marinate. We gotta toast up, celebrate. Everyone scream next up, but I'm the number one candidate.
Welcome to the Langley Event Center. I'm Chris Kennedy, joined here by my co-host Christina Brown, in the road to the LEC as we look at the 4 tiers of the girls' championships that are coming next week here at the Langley Event Center. Hey Christina, what an exciting time of year.
Happy to be here. Yeah, there's so much good basketball going on, and we just can't wait to see who's going to match up against each other.
You know, we're coming off of one of the very best years in the girls' championship. You know, talk about how good it was here last year at the LEC.
Yeah, so last year we had so many great finals. It's amazing to see everybody come out. The Triple Gym filled over 2,000 fans, sold out crowd. Can't wait to see that replicated again this year.
And so, you know, you're new in this seat. We've ever since the girls' championship came to the Langley Event Center, the draw show has been a part of the tournament. Typically, he's been joined by Howard Samura, and so for all the Howard Samura fans out there, he has not gone away. Still, you'll be able to follow Howard as he'll be tracking all the games on Varsity Letters as your go-to place for news about the tournament, and you'll hear him doing play-by-play as we get down to the semifinals and the final games. So the other thing that's new about this year's tournament, first time ever, we're getting all 4 tiers here at the Langley Event Center.
That's right. So this year we'll be joined by the 1A girls tournament for the first time. So like Chris mentioned, all 4 tiers for the first time ever of girls basketball will be held right here at the Langley Event Center.
You know, for somebody who's played in it, how important do you think that we have now all 64 of these teams here at one spot for the championships?
I think it's so great. It seems that now we get to have kind of a hub of basketball, and we had the boys, and now this kind of was the last missing piece of the puzzle to bring the 1A girls over, and we just get to see so much great basketball over the next 4 days.
All right, so we're going to now take you through all of the draws. We're going to start with our 1A tournament, and we'll take you through the 16 teams that are in that draw.
Yeah. 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 Come with a classic, they come around years later and say it's a sleeper. The earrings are real, the petty is real. Might charge my ex for a feature. Deposit the money to Brenda Letitia, or Linda Felicia. Twice I didn't even know once, you know I'm a 42 millimeter, was made in Geneva. Yeah, I probably should go to Yeshiva.
It's time to get underway with our first draw. Up first, we've got the 1A girls tournament. Coming in at our number 1 seed, we've got the Pacific Christian Pacers from Victoria. They're the Vancouver Island champions, and they're going to be facing our 16th seed, the Bulkley Valley Christian Royals, our North Central champions from Smithers.
You know, it's really interesting. Pacific Christian is here again at the tournament. Here as a 2A team last year, now at the 1A. They were in the finals of 2A and now have a chance to maybe win the 1A this year.
That's right, they do.
And they of course have Bulkley Valley Northwest champions, 11th place in last year's event, most sportsmanlike team. You know, not a bad first round matchup actually for Pacific Christian. They get Bulkley Valley there, first game on the first day.
All right, and moving on, we've got our number 8 seed, the Cedars Christian Eagles from Prince George. They're the North Central number 2. They're going to be facing our number 9 seed, Charles Bloom Timberwolves from Lumbee.
Charles Bloom, they were here last year. They finished 9th. They go up against Cedars Christian there on that first day in the 10 a.m. matchup. Cedars Christian was the 1A champion back in 1999, so 25 years celebration of their 1A tournament championship. And they actually haven't been here in a while. First time in the tournament in 11 years for them. And so that ends that quadrant there. You got the Pacific Christian, Bulkley Valley, Cedars Christian, and Charles Bloom all in that first quadrant of our 1A draw.
Starting our next quadrant, we've got our number 4 seed coming in at number 4, the St. Anne's Academy Crusaders from Kamloops. They're the Thompson Okanagan champions. They're going to be matching up against our 13th seed, the Grand Forks Wolves from Grand Forks, our Kootenay champions.
And both these teams are back at the tournament this year. St. Anne's Academy, they were 5th last year in the tournament, and they go with Grand Forks, who finished 10th. So 2 teams used to playing in the championships, both back here. They'll face off on that opening day.
Rounding up that quadrant, we've got our number 5 seed, the Sir Alexander Mackenzie Grizzlies from Haggensburg, the North Central champions, matching up against our number 12 seed, the White Rock Christian Academy Warriors, the South Fraser champions.
You know, Sir Alexander Mackenzie Grizzlies, they actually were here for the junior championships last year, and so great to see that they made the leap and are here in the single A tournament. And earlier this season, they gave Unity Christian, we're going to talk about them later, they're always a powerhouse in 1A. They gave them a good game, and they go up, of course, against White Rock Christian, the Warriors, a long basketball history of that school. Great to see them in the tournament this year as well.
All right, looking at the bottom half of the bracket, we've got our number 2 seed, the Unity Christian Flames from Chilliwack. They're the Eastern Valley champions. They're going to be matching up against the 15th seed, the Meadow Ridge Griffins from Maple Ridge. They're the Fraser North champions this year.
Always hearing about Unity Christian at this time of year in the 1A. They won the title in 2018, and they've actually been to the last 4 since then. And been defeated by Credo Christian in the final, but they're always in and around the championship, and they're back again, number 2 seed, right in the mix for this year's championship. And as you say, they go up against Meadow Ridge, the Griffins on day 1, the Fraser North champs.
Coming in at number 7, we've got our Kelowna Christian Knights from Kelowna. They're the Thompson Okanagan number 2. They're going to be matching up against St. Margaret's from Victoria. Coming in at the 10th seed, they're our Vancouver Island number 3 team this year.
Love always great stories like St. Margaret's. The last time they were in this tournament, 1994. So 30 years, a whole generation later, they're back in the championships. And so great to have them here. They get Kelowna Christian on day 1. Kelowna Christian, 4th place in 2023. And they are a 3-time finalist, a long basketball history at that school, most recently to the finals in 2018.
And rounding up our last quadrant of teams, we've got our number 3 seed, the Credo Christian Kodiaks from Langley. They're the Eastern Valley number 2. They're going to be facing up against Jules Verne, our number 14th seed from Vancouver. They're the Sea to Sky champions this year. And
Credo Christian, they've been the dominant force in 1A girls basketball in recent years. 4-time defending champion. This year coming in at the 3 spot, but 4-time champion, 6 1A titles in their program's history. And they go up against Jules Verne out of Vancouver, Sea to Sky, who were actually also here last year, 16th place finish, and they do battle on day 1.
Our final 2 teams of the tournament, we've got our number 6 seed, the Nanaimo Christian Trailblazers from Nanaimo, BC. They're our Vancouver Island number 2. They're going to be matching up against the number 11 Immaculata Mustangs from Kelowna, our Thompson Okanagan number 4 seed.
Immaculata, they're looking for their first title since 2014, but they hold the record. They are the 7-time 1A champion, number 11 seed, and as you said, they go up against Nanaimo Christian on day 1. Nanaimo Christian here last year, they finished 6th in that tournament. And so we bring it up now. There you have the full draw there in front of you. In talking to the folks who are putting this together, they say probably 5 or 6 teams that can likely maybe win the championship. But you look at probably Pacific Christian here last year for the 2A, made it to the final. Core of those girls are back. And then you have in 2 and 3, Credo Christian, Unity Christian, probably the 3 teams that most people see as the most likely champion to come out of that group. Yeah,
I think it's really nice in 1A we get to see a brand new first seed in a number of years. So they're here to spice things up a little bit. Really, I think this could be anyone's game in the 1A tournament. There's going to be some games that we're going to definitely need to follow closely.
All right, so there you have it. There is the 1A draw. They play all their games at RE Mountain on the first day. You can follow along there, and then they move over, and they'll be over by the championships on center court as we move towards Saturday. Earlier this afternoon, we had a chance to catch up with John Stewart. He's the coach of the number 1 ranked Pacific Christian off Vancouver Island, and we're going to go to that interview now and hear his thoughts on this year's tournament.
We're now joined by Coach John Stewart of the Pacific Christian Pacers. Hi, John. Thanks for joining us.
Hi there. Great to be with you.
Awesome. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your season and what got you guys to this point?
Well, we've been very fortunate to be able to play in a competitive league here in the South Island, being able to play up against some of the the big 4A schools like your Claremonts, Oak Bays, Royal Bays, Belmont, and Lambert and St. Mike's. So we have a great competitive league. We're very fortunate to be able to do that. We've had a bunch of success in our tournament play. We went up to ADSS at the awesome Totem 68 tournament, and we're able to be tournament champs up there. It's an amazing atmosphere playing in front of 500 hometown crowd, screaming fans, and that's always an awesome experience. Able to win the RCMP tournament. We get some great exposure and some great competition at the Christmas tournament that Brett Westcott puts on over here in Victoria, and consolation champs there, and then had a chance to be able to come up against some strong AA teams at our Christian Schools tournament, playing Pacific Academy and also Langley Christian and a number of others.
Nice. So yeah, you guys actually were in the 2A final last year, so I think that maybe gives you a little bit of an edge over the other 1A teams that haven't played in this tournament. Tell us how you think that might help your team.
Well, it's exciting to be able to be at LEC with the 1A group. We've been back and forth between 1A and 2A for a number of years, since 2005, and for us to be able to have the 1A championships at the LEC in the same place, same building, same form, same feeling as the double, triple, and quad A is, I think it's an excellent move with BC School Sports, and the chance to be able to all be there together. It's great for exposure for our single A players as well. So looking forward to that. In terms of the being in the final last year, it was a fantastic experience. It's such a kind of a big deal. Center court, it's always a special place to be at any tournament, but in the provincials, it's always it's awesome. And we came up against a really tough Mulgrave team last year.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier on the island getting that chance to compete against those other teams in the higher tiers. How has that kind of helped you guys?
Well, I think it's huge for us because we get the high competition all season long, and we're able to be in a Division I, Division II league, and it's by choice, and we're very fortunate to be able to play against excellent competition. There's a real sense of camaraderie and kind of the betterment of girls basketball here in Victoria, and we see a lot of our girls moving on to post-secondary. At all levels, but we're fortunate to have 3 in the last couple of years that are playing at Trinity, UNBC, UVic, and having some great success there too.
That's so awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We look forward to watching your team next week in the tournament, and hopefully see you again on center court.
Well, we'll do our best. Thanks very much for all you're doing.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Good luck.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Y'all do not know me, I shoot like I'm Kobe. That boy really tough when it's dozy though. I keep a drink, ain't no OVO. I ain't with nothing, just have my portfolio. Really come from a block where they bang bang. I said that Glock with the Glock ain't no goalie, bro. Say you about what you claiming and show me the one in the head you gon' die tryna toe to toe. Trench kid, no, gotta run it up. If you thinking I'ma lose, then you never Power drippin' them is ooh, belly buttercup. Youngins on my city, keep it smooth just to sum it up. No security, you see me, but that Glock spit. Doing it, that's why I pop. VVS is jumping while it's like a mosh pit. Really not, but I'm moving like I'm hot. Legal money coming in, I started off robbing. True to everything I did, is really no flogging. All my been going up, no dodging. And I'ma keep on coming with the heat, I'm hogging. Trench cake, glitter on a piece, stop sobbing. While his hand, it defeats my noggin. If that ain't really your beat, stop siding. So you try to
celebrate the big one. They are the BC Senior Girls AA champions for 2023.
All right, we're going to turn our attention now to the 2A Girls Championship draw, starting off with our number 1 seed in the tournament. They're from Mulgrave, from West Vancouver, the Titans, the Vancouver Sea to Sky champions, the defending champions. And on day 1, they get Brentwood College out of Mill Bay, the 16 seed, number 2 on Vancouver Island, making their 5th tournament appearance here.
Yeah, we've got a big core of that Mulgrave team returning. Like you mentioned, they were our champions last year, so I think Brentwood College is up for quite the battle first day, but excited to see how that turns out.
Obviously, Mulgrave trying to kind of go wire to wire from champion last year at this tournament. Many of the, as you say, the core back, Eva Roos and others, they've been number 1 seed basically throughout the whole season in 2A, and they're trying to come back and win their second straight championship after and be playing now, hopefully in they're hoping to play in their 3rd straight championship, Brentwood College, as you said, on day 1. The rest of that bracket, we have Pacific Academy Breakers. They're the 8th seed out of Surrey, and they go up against the Abbotsford Christian Knights, the 9 seed out of Abbotsford Eastern Valley, number 2.
Yeah, so we have Pacific Academy coming in as our South Fraser number 3 team. They actually lost to Southridge in the semifinals, which might have affected their ranking a little bit, pushing them potentially a little lower than maybe Mulgrave was hoping. And then they're going to be facing Abbotsford Christian, which is no slight battle to win that 8th and 9th place game. So it's definitely not a guarantee for anyone that game, but excited to see how this one plays out.
Absolutely. You look at that quadrant there, and yet you can't, if you're Pacific Academy, you obviously can't look past Abbotsford Christian. But Mulgrave, number 1 seed all season long, and if it plays out like the seeds look like it might, they would get Pacific Academy on day 2. That's been a top 5 team much of the year. A little upset there at the South Frasers means that they fall to the 8th spot. That could be a very interesting day 2 game if the tournament plays out that way. All right, looking at our next group of 4 here in the tournament, our number 4 seed, they're Notre Dame. They are the Sea to Sky number 2, and they go up against the Fernie Falcons out of the Kootenays.
We've got Notre Dame as our Sea to Sky number 2. They lost to Mulgrave, a tough team, in the Sea to Sky finals. And then matching up against Fernie, they're coming down as the Kootenay champion this year. They actually came 8th place last year, so a nice strong battle from that Fernie team on day 1 against Notre Dame.
All right, and finishing off the this side of the draw, we have the St. Thomas More Collegiate Knights. They're the number 5 seed, Fraser North champions, and they go up against the Kalamalka Lakers, number 12, Thompson Okanagan champions, a battle of champions on day 1.
Yeah, St. Thomas More is the Fraser North champions. They came 7th place last year. A win on day 1 is going to push them for the 3rd straight top 8 appearance. They're going to be facing Kalamalka. They finished 5th in 2023. They were the 2009 2A champions, a strong team out of Coldstream, looking to face the Knights on day 1.
All right, so there you have it. That's the first half of our draw, and obviously Mulgrave, likely the team to beat there as we look at the first 8. We're going to turn our attention now to the other side of the draw, and our number 2 seed, out of Surrey, Holy Cross Crusaders, the number 2 seed, and they get the Abbotsford Traditional Titans out of Abbotsford, number 15 on day 1.
Yeah, Holy Cross, we had a chance to see them here in the Catholic finals at Langley Event Center. They had a nice sold-out crowd here, so they're looking to follow that momentum into the tournament. Facing up against Abbey Traditional, they're making their 3rd straight appearance in the tournament. So again, another strong battle on day 1 from our South Fraser champions versus East Valley number 3. And
that Holy Cross Crusaders, a really young core of players, a couple really key grade 10s on that team. You see that on a number of teams in this tournament. One of those teams that I know that has a chance to definitely knock off Mulgrave if they can make it that far in the tournament. The other 2 teams in this quadrant, number 7, Lambert Park. Lambert Parks, I think they're here every year, and they go up against Britannia. Britannia, number 10 seed this year, a former champion who are back here at the championships this year.
Yeah, we've got Lambert Park coming in number 1 off the island. Lambert Park is a 2A dynasty. This school's got 6 2A titles, 5 straight from 1988 to 1992. This will be their 27th appearance in this year's tournament. It's the 2nd most among all teams. So great history from that Lambert Park school. And then, of course, another school that seems to be here almost every year, Britannia Bruins, a strong team out of Vancouver. They were our 2022 2A champions. We saw them compete here at the TBI, a tough team. I think this is going to be a tough battle between number 7, number 10. This is one you never know which way it's going to go.
Absolutely. And finishing off our 2A tournament, looking at our final 4 teams, Langley Christian Lightning, number 3 seed, Eastern Valley champs, and they go up against Nechako Valley, the Vikings from Vanderhoof, the 14 seed on day 1.
Yeah, both these squads have actually won a number of champions throughout their years here. We had most recently Langley Christian as the 2A champions, a bronze medal in 2023. This team's always here to compete, and they're facing Nechako Valley, who should not be underestimated. They've got, in their school's history, 5 championships. They've got quite a strong history coming down from Vanderhoof.
That's right. Langley Christian, Coach Gardner's team, always well prepared. You know they're going to be, they're ready to go here for the championship. What you see with them, as well as with Holy Cross and some of these other teams, really well tested against 3A and 4A schools throughout the season. Our final 2 teams in this year's event, the Southridge Storm out of Surrey, and they go up against St. Pat's out of Vancouver, number 11 seed, the 6-11 match on day 1.
Yeah, as we mentioned earlier, Southridge had a great battle against Pacific Academy in that South Fraser semifinal, giving them the South Fraser number 2 spot, putting them at number 6 this year. They're a strong team. We can expect to see them battle hard out on the court. They're going to be facing St. Patrick, who last year they came 15th. But again, as we've seen over the years with these St. Patrick's team, always feisty, always down to play a tough game. And
what you know about St. Pat's, we see it on the girls and the boys side, they bring their crowd with them. It's going to be loud when they play here at the Langley Event Center.
They do, so we're hoping that that's a good matchup, nice sold-out crowd on day 1.
All right, so there you have it. They're all in the field house to start this year's tournament. Our 2A, they play the first day in the field house. The first couple days, they move over and find their way over to South Court for the semifinals, and then Center Court for the championship on Saturday. You have Mulgrave trying to go back-to-back, win a championship, but a couple really good schools, Holy Cross, Langley Christian. It's not a foregone conclusion, I don't think, that Mulgrave wins it again.
No, not at all. It's never a given. We've learned that from watching the games over the last few years on Center Court. Championship games are up to anybody. All
right, and so earlier this afternoon, we had the chance to catch up with Coach Leduc of the number 1 seed out of Mulgrave, and we're going to go to those comments now as he breaks down the tournament and what he's expecting next week. All right, we're now pleased to be joined by Coach Leduc from Mulgrave in the 2A division. Coach Leduc, excited about coming back to the tournament this year?
Very excited. The girls have been looking forward to it all season. They've been working hard, putting in the time in the gym. They're excited to try to repeat against some really good AA teams.
Now, what's it like trying to repeat? Is there more pressure than there was last year?
Yeah, I would think there's a little bit more pressure. I mean, we kind of we have the mark on our back this year. Everybody's gunning for us. I think when people step on the court to play us, they just play a little bit harder. I don't think anybody likes or roots for a repeat. So people, when they step on the court, are playing hard against us and making it difficult. And like I said, there's some really good AA teams from Langley Christian, Pacific Academy. Pacific Academy looks really good, and Holy Cross, all really good teams.
I think one of the advantages your team has is you get to play against a lot of 3A and 4A teams during the year. Do you think that helps you out, having played all those top teams across all the tiers throughout the season?
For sure. Like, we've played all the top 10 4A schools and most of the top the top AAA schools, and I think it helps. The quality of the basketball is just bigger, stronger, faster. They got deeper benches, make us really work. So it's been really eye-opening for the girls. There are no days off, no shifts off. It's work, 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 and it's been enjoyable. We've learned a lot of valuable lessons playing against some really, really good teams like Seaquam, Riverside. Yeah, it's been an eye-opener for the girls, and I think helps them really prepare when we play AA competition.
You've had a really special run here at the tournament. Made the final 2 years ago, win the championship last year. Must be a little bit bittersweet. I think of someone like Eva Roos, who's been such a key member of your team. It must be a special time. Or do you want to talk about any of those grade 12s that you have that are graduating this year?
Yeah, it is. It's been very special. We've been together since grade 7. I've seen them growing up from little girls who were tiny and small, and weren't very powerful, to mature, confident young women who are great basketball players. And there's 8 of them in the program. Unfortunately, one of them hasn't been able to play all year. Our point guard, Ava Wilson, she's been out all season, hasn't played a game for us. So that's kind of impacted us a little bit. And Eva Roos has definitely stepped up. She's a monster. She does everything for us. She's a competitor, rebounds the ball. She gets triple teamed and still has a smile on her face and still works hard. There's nothing she's not willing to do for the team. But then there's also our other players. Jenna Talib, who's just kind of stepped into that point guard role and really, really helped us shooting the ball. Lucia Zhu, Erica, and Deanna, all 5 of them have really stepped up in Ava's absence, and we've had to. But Eva Roos, for sure, she's a monster. She's a great kid. She's a competitor. She knows how to win, and she battles. Great to coach. They've all been great to coach, and I'm going to miss them dearly next year. They have a very high basketball IQ, strong work ethic, and they all get along. I mean, it's been a pleasure to coach them. Absolutely.
Well, how nice, the very best of high school sports. Well, I thank you, Coach Leduc. Obviously, big goals for next week as you try to repeat as AA champions. A lot of good teams in the mix, and we look forward to seeing you and the Titans out here at the Langley Event Center starting next week. Thanks very much.
Thanks for having us. Have a good afternoon.
Good luck.
I just came back for the win. Lot of new money in my hand. Go tell a friend to tell a friend. They say success is the best revenge. Heard they was sleeping again, say it no more. This is a rude awakening, kicking the door. Back and I'm better than ever before. Don't get it mistaken, I'm ready for war. I see the option, I'm up in the score. I catch a body, then jump in the Porsche. Follow the core and then back to the morgue. Take the sheet off and I kill him some more. When I am done at the scene, I won't leave anything. You won't even know who was involved. Don't let me do it, cause I overdo it and do it till I cannot do it no more. All of the doubters, I'm proving them wrong. Back with the classic, I know it's been long. Heard it was missing me while I was gone. I smell the victory, back up on time, and it's where I belong. Like it ain't to me, we making history, fall through the misery.
Have won the BC Senior Girls AAA Basketball Championship. They have defeated St. Michael's University School 67-64.
All right, so we're halfway there. We've figured out our 1A bracket, 2A bracket. It's time to move on to 3A. Coming in at our number 1 seed of our 3A tournament this year, we've got the Brookswood Bobcats from Langley. They're the Eastern Valley champions. They're going to be facing our 16th seed, Caledonia from Terrace. They're the Northwest champions.
I would say with Brookswood that they, they're brand new to this tier and this championship, but in many ways they're trying to repeat because they were here last year. The core of this team here for the junior championships. I guess they blended together with the current seniors, who the grade 11s, who are now grade 12. But that core group, kind of a grade 9 heavy group, that they're here as the number 1 seed this year.
Yeah, you bet. So they are looking to hold that number 1 spot against Caledonia. Been here a couple times in the 2A level. This is actually Caledonia's first appearance in our 3A tournament.
And again, back to Brookswood, obviously a school that you know a lot about, deep tradition, many-time champion here, and nice to see that they're back here at the tournament and a chance to carry on that great tradition they have at the school.
Yeah, you bet. And wrapping up the bottom of that quadrant, we've got our number 8th seed, the College Heights Cougars from Prince George. They're our North Central number 2. They're going to be facing our number 9 seed from Surrey, the Clayton Heights Riders. They're the South Fraser champions this year.
Clayton Heights, they pull a little bit of an upset. They beat R.A. McMath in the South Fraser final for their first ever South Fraser championship. They were here last year as the 2 seed out of South Fraser, finishing 10th. But as a program on the move, a growing program, great to see them here. And they go up against College Heights, who is actually more established. They are 3 straight tournament appearances, 5th in 2022, 9th last year. They come out as the number 2 out of the North Central this year. Yeah,
on day 1, that 8-9 game, it's always a toss-up of who it's going to be. Is it going to be College Heights? Is it going to be Clayton Heights? You're going to have to tune in.
The Battle of the Heights
on
day 1. The Battle of the
Heights, you bet. You're going to have to come here day 1, check it out, see how that one goes. At our number 4 seed, we've got MEI Eagles from Abbotsford. They're the Eastern Valley number 2. They're going to be facing our number 13th seed from Courtenay, the Mark R. Isfeld Ice, our Vancouver Island number 3 seed.
Mark R. Isfeld Ice, my favorite nickname here at this year's tournament. 3rd appearance in 4 years. They go up against MEI. MEI, deep basketball traditions, 4th straight appearance, never finished below 6th place. They lost in the 2022 final to RA McMath in the 3A final. They've been in and around top 5 all season long. A lot of good battles with a lot of these top teams. Eastern Valley number 2, number 4 overall in the tournament.
Yeah, and then finishing up that quadrant, we've got our number 5 seed from Victoria, the Reynolds Roadrunners. They're going to be facing our number 12th seed from Kamloops, the Sahali Sabres, Thompson Okanagan number 3.
First time for Reynolds here at the 3A tournament. Of course, having been to the 2As, they've grown a little bit, so they've moved up a tier. 3 times to the 2A Provincial Championships, Vancouver Island number 2, and they go up against Thompson Okanagan number 3. 3rd straight appearance for Sahali. Never lost an opening round game, and the 5-12 game, if we've learned something, is always a game to be nervous about. You know, you look across our 4 tiers, you got to think at least one 12 team is going to beat a 5 team on that first day.
It seems to happen every year. We just got to see this year, is it going to be Sahali to make that win? So we've got the bottom half of our bracket now, our number 2 seed from Victoria, the St. Michael's University School Blue Jags. They're the Vancouver Island champions. They'll be matched up against our 15th seed, the Little Flower Academy Angels from Vancouver, the Sea to Sky champions.
All right, and so St. Michael's University, they return a core group who made it to the championship game last year in 2023. So lots of those girls back. Vancouver Island champs, as you said, coached by former provincial all-star Lindsay Brooke. And they go up against Little Flower, the Sea to Sky champions on day 1. Finished 8th last year in their first ever 3A appearance. Of course, they have a rich history in the 2A division, 24 2A appearances. So an interesting first day matchup as two zone champions go face-to-face, St. Michael's versus Little Flower Academy.
Coming in at our number 7th seed, we've got the Robert Bateman Timberwolves from Abbotsford. They're the Eastern Valley number 3 team, facing our number 10 WL Seton Sonics from Vernon. They come in as the Thompson Okanagan number 2.
Again, since we've gone to the 4 tiers, we've kind of have some different teams, especially in the 3A, that become basketball schools. And these are 2 of those teams who are now kind of regularly appearing here at the championships. Bateman making their 3rd straight appearance, Seton making their 2nd straight appearance. So we've got an interesting first day matchup, Timberwolves and Sonics in that 7-10 game.
Yeah, one thing we know about Robert Bateman, they sure love to bring a crowd, especially on day 1. So if you're looking for a good environment, I'd be sure to check out that game because it's going to be a tough battle and the crowd is going to be packed. Our number 3 seed team, we've got from Kamloops, the South Kamloops Titans, facing the number 14th seed, the Pitt Meadows Marauders from Pitt Meadows, our Fraser North, however, champions.
So South Kamloops, 3rd appearance in 4 years, came 3rd last year. Again, another one of these former 2A schools. They won back-to-back championships in 2018 and 2019 before the tier shifts happened. And they go up against Pitt Meadows on day 1. Fraser North champions last year in 2022.
And our final 2 teams of our 3A bracket, we've got our number 6 Duchess Park Condors from Prince George, the North Central champions, facing number 11 RA McMath Wildcats from Richmond, our South Fraser number 2 team.
So Duchess Park Condors, they're the North Central champs last year in 2022. They go up against McMath, who have 4th straight tournament appearances, made the semifinals all in the last 3 years, champions in 2022, as we mentioned earlier, got upset in the South Frasers, probably knocked them down a couple seeds in terms of the seeding for this year's tournament. But a very good number 11 team that will give a very good game to Duchess Park on that first day.
Yeah, you talk about those programs that seem to be here every year competing hard. Duchess Park, no matter what year, it seems that their name is in the bid for one of the top teams in our province.
All right, so there you have it. Those are our teams for the 3A draw. You've got everybody chasing Brookswood. Brookswood number 1 most of the year, battle tested against a lot of 4A schools, but a very young core of players. And that kind of contrast to a St. Michael's who were here in that final game last year. Most of those girls are back, an older core of players, and then some of those other teams around the edges, whether it's South Kamloops or MEI, Reynolds, some of those other teams that definitely are in the mix as well. A number 1 seed, but not some years we've seen Brookswood above and beyond everybody else, everybody chasing. This is a very good Brookswood team, but probably not as dominant a Brookswood team as we've seen some years.
Yeah, I think as we look at our number 2 seed, Smoose from the Island, always a competitive team. Those teams have had some big battles, Brookswood and Smooth, throughout the year. So just looking to see, as the days progress, where we end up.
All right, and so earlier this afternoon, we did actually catch up with that #1 school, Brookswood Bobcats, their coach, Chrissy Noor, and we had a chance to chat with her, and we're going to go to that now and get her comments as she gets ready, her team for the tournament.
So we're joined now by Chrissy Noor, head coach of the Brookswood Bobcats. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So as your team prepares for this year's tournament, last year you guys were the junior champions. Next, you're moving up to the senior tournament. How did you guys prepare to move up to the next level?
As soon as provincials were done last year, we kind of started training right away with a mixture of the girls from the junior team and senior team together. So it has been a big adjustment, but our girls have done really well at combining the teams together and playing well so far this year.
Right on. So being part of the Brookswood Bobcats is obviously a big dynasty. We've seen them repeat as 3-time champions in this building at the Langley Event Center. In the position that you guys are in heading to the tournament, is there any sort of pressure that the girls feel to live up to that name?
Always a little bit when you're wearing a Brookswood jersey, but I think that we've do the best that we can to tone all of that out and just go and play basketball.
Sounds good. Have there been any key matchups for you guys this season that have kind of been pivotal in how your season has progressed?
Well, we started out our season playing like the top Quad A schools, and we competed quite well against them. Smooth's our big one. We've had a couple games with them, and we've gone 1-1. So that's a big one going into our AAA provincials.
Looking at this tournament, it's so nice that you get the chance to coach your daughter. So I got to play for my dad in this tournament. Chris has coached his daughter. What is that for you as a family? What does that mean for you guys?
Yeah, it's been pretty cool. It's fun. I've coached Jordan for a long time, so we've kind of figured out the balance between I'm her coach during the game and I'm her mom when I get home. But it is pretty fun to go through that with her.
Awesome. Do you have anything else that you'd like to share about looking up forward to provincials?
No, I think we're all excited to get there and looking forward to Wednesday.
Awesome. We're looking forward to having you. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to chat with us.
Thanks again for having me.
But that's going to do it. The Walnut School Gators are going to fall. And the Riverside Rapids, they storm the court. They are the champions of BC 4A basketball.
All right, 3 tiers down, 1 tier to go. We're going to now take a look at the 4A tier. And as we've done with the other tiers, going to start off with our #1 ranked team, Riverside Rapids out of Port Coquitlam. They're the #1 seed. They go up against the Mount Baker Wild, the 16 seed on day 1.
Yeah, we've got Riverside, our Fraser North champion, the defending champions from last year's 4A tournament. And then, of course, they're coming up against the Kootenay champion, Mount Baker. Mount Baker, of course, proximity-wise of where they are, they've actually had to play most of their competitive games out of Alberta. So we'll see how that competes when they face Paul Langford and a tough Riverside group first round.
Yeah, always interesting to see Mount Baker because most of these other teams haven't seen them during the year. You say, they play most of their games out of Alberta. They get a very tough game, though, obviously, day 1, Riverside Rapids, defending champions. Probably Riverside more than any other team, the most consistent team that we've seen probably in the last decade here at the tournament.
Definitely. Riverside is always producing a team that is here to battle. They're hoping for a 3rd straight final appearance this season.
A lot built around Avery Sussex for them, but they're more than just one player too. A lot of scoring throughout that roster. We turn our attention to the other two teams in this bracket. We have the number 8 team, the Kelowna Owls out of Kelowna, and then out of Vancouver, the number 9 seed, Sir Winston Churchill Bulldogs.
Yeah, we've got our Kelowna Owls. They're the Thompson Okanagan number 2 seed, facing the Vancouver Sea to Sky number 2. You know, that 8 or 9 game on day 1, it's always going to be a tough battle. We've got Louise Dykstra, part of Winston Churchill, facing a tough Kelowna team who always seems to compete when they come down at provincials.
Yeah, so Kelowna, they lose to Okanagan Mission in that final there in the Okanagan. And you're right, Sir Winston Churchill, Coach Dykstra with his daughter graduating this year, off to play Div 1 like her older sister did next year. That's a tough team. That's a very interesting first day matchup in the 8-9 spot. Looking at the other two teams in the quadrant, and we'll move to that other team out of the Okanagan next. They're the number 4 team, Okanagan Mission Huskies, the champions from Thompson, Okanagan, and they go up against the Walnut Grove Gators, the number 13 team out of Langley.
So we've got our Thompson Okanagan champion, OKM, facing our Eastern Valley number 3 team, Walnut Grove. Walnut Grove actually had to win a play-in game in order to be here for provincial, so we're going to see if they can ride that momentum all the way to the second round. But I know if there's one thing that OKM is going to give them a hard battle in that game.
Yeah, so Walnut Grove obviously finished second last year, losing to Riverside in the championship. They've made 4 consecutive Final Fours. But Okanagan Mission, they've become, what a tough program. What an excellent, strong program, and they've built over the last several years, playing both 2A and 3A. They made the 2020 3A championship. They placed 7th here last year. Just a program, obviously, on the rise. Another really interesting day 1 matchup. And then looking at our final 2 teams on this side of the draw, the number 5 ranked Burnaby Central Wildcats, and they go up against the Lord Tweedsmuir Panthers out of Surrey. They're the number 12 seed.
Yeah, so we've got our Fraser North number 2 versus South Fraser number 2. These Fraser Valley teams seem to compete every year. So we saw Burnaby Central at the TBI this year, a very consistent team. Remained high in the rankings throughout the year. It was kind of a toss-up of where they were going to end up. Facing Lord Tweedsmuir, always our Surrey team seem to be fairly strong, so it'll be interesting to see how that 5-12 game plays out.
Burnaby Central gave Riverside all they could handle this past Sunday night at SFU in their Fraser North final, a 10-point win for Riverside. But again, Burnaby Central, very strong team, looking for their 3rd straight top 4 finish. 4th in 2022 in 3A, and 3rd in 2023 in 4A. And Tweedsmuir, obviously another school with a rich history of winning basketball championships here, last winning the 2017 provincial championships. And so there you have it. There's that side of the draw. Probably, you look at that, Riverside's the class of it. They've knocked off most of those teams at some point during the year. I think they've played just about all of them. As I said, they beat Burnaby Central in their championship game this past weekend. But Sir Winston Churchill and Kelowna and Okanagan Mission, they've seen each other lots during the year. It would be Riverside's to win there on that side. Turning our attention to the other side of the draw now, our number 2 seed, Coach Barudi's Argyle Pipers out of North Vancouver. They are the Sea to Sky champions. And they go up against the North Peace Grizzlies out of Fort St. John, number 15, on the first day.
Yeah, so we've got Argyle, like you mentioned, coached by Anthony Bayrudi. They finished 5th last year in the 3A tournament, so they're making that bump up to the next tier. They're going to compete in the 4A tournament this year. Coming up against North Peace, it's always going to be an interesting game on day 1 against that North Central champion.
Argyle Pipers have developed, again, one of those strong basketball programs right through their system. North Shore champions in grade 8, grade 9, grade 10, and senior. They have all their teams off competing at provincial championships this week and next. A real credit to the work that they're doing at that school. Interesting to see as they jump up here to the 4A, right in the number 2 spot, and if they can get to the final and maybe give Coach Baruti can give Coach Langford a run for the championship. Our other 2 teams, turning our attention to the rest of this bracket, number 7, Yale, they go up against number 10, Oak Bay from Victoria.
Yeah, we've got the Yale Lions from Abbotsford. They're the Eastern Valley number 2 seed this year. They get a tough matchup day 1 against our Vancouver Island champions of Oak Bay. Always a strong island team. We kind of talk about those dynasty teams, and over the years, Oak Bay seems to be here every year competing very hard. They've medaled 5 times in a 7-year span, which is quite a feat to accomplish here at the tournament. And then, of course, Yale, always a tough battle from Bobby Brach's team. He gets the girls out there playing hard.
I know they would love to get to the Final Four like they did last year. Our next 2 teams, Seaquam Seahawks out of Delta, they're the 3 seed. They're the South Fraser champions. And they got the Claremont Spartans out of Victoria, number 14, who are Vancouver Island, number 2.
Yeah, so we talk about teams that have matched up against that number 1 Riverside. We got to see Seaquam actually defeat Riverside in that TBI final this year. Just such an amazing game, and Lucky Tour has provided some very entertaining basketball with that squad that he's got. The core of this team, like we kind of mentioned with Brookswood earlier, this Seaquam team, they are the 2022 Junior Girls Champions. So it's interesting to see how those junior championship teams progress as they get into senior. So really looking forward to seeing them. And then, of course, the Vancouver Island, we've talked about how they produce such strong basketball teams. So our Vancouver Island number 2, Claremont, they were finished 8th last year after losing in overtime in that quarterfinal battle, which is always such a hard game on day 2. Really looking forward to seeing how these teams match up.
And as you said, Seaquam has stepped up to the 4A tier. They're actually a 3A size school playing up, have a core group, a very young group as well. And they'll be good again next year. And like I said with Argyle, all the way through their system, they've done a really nice job of building a basketball program there at their school. And our final 2 teams, the GW Graham Grizzlies out of Chilliwack, they're the number 6 team. And they go up against the Charles Best Blue Devils from Coquitlam in the number 11 spot.
Yeah, so we've got our Eastern Valley champions competing against Charles Best, who, like Walnut Grove, had to win a play-in game last night. So happy to see Charles Best win that game, make their appearance. They were here last year in the tournament. GW Graham, quite a strong team that we've seen competing at that 2A level, back-to-back championship games in 2018, 2019. This is actually their first time qualifying for the 4A tournament. So I think it's nice to see a new 4A team in GW Graham competing against a Charles Best team who's we're just kind of starting to see the redevelopment of that program.
All right, so there you have it, the 16 teams in the 4A tournament. The 4As play all of their games on South Court, starting at 8:30 in the morning with our number 1 seed, going all the way through the day. And, it's probably, everybody trying to knock Riverside off, trying to stop them from winning back-to-back championships.
I think that's always the goal in this 4A champion is everyone wants to see who can dethrone that number 1 ranked seed.
And as we've said, there's number 2 Argyle, number 3 Seaquam. They've all kind of beaten each other at some point during this season. But then a couple of those just outside that mix, Okanagan Mission, they're strong. Burnaby Central, as I say, they gave Riverside a good game. It's a fairly deep pool. So, some years there's just 2 or 3 teams that can win it. Maybe 6 or 7 teams that are in the mix to be winners as champions this year.
Yeah, it's so good in girls basketball to see the development of the programs over the years. There's not necessarily that one dominant team this year. It's really anybody's game, which I think is just so amazing to see. It makes it more exciting for the fans, for everyone out here to watch. We just want to encourage everybody to come out to Langley Event Center next week and to see how these games progress day 1, and of course, see who we're going to crown champion.
Well, so there you have the 16 teams in the 4A girls tournament. And earlier today, we had a chance to get caught up with Coach Paul Langford of the defending champion Riverside Rapids. And we're going to go to that now as he previews the tournament. All right, we're now pleased to be joined by Paul Langford, head coach of the Riverside Rapids, the defending 4A champions. Hey, thanks for joining us, Paul. Must be an exciting time of year for the team.
Well, it's always a busy time, and it's exciting. It's been a very good year, and we're looking forward to going to the LEC.
You're probably the most consistent team here at the LEC over the last decade. What do you credit for being able to be here year in and year out and always in contention?
Getting in the gym. We get in the gym a lot. We go every morning. We go every Sunday night. We get in the gym. And this last little run, I know, though nothing came good of COVID, during COVID, it's all we did. We did outside for a long time, and then we did inside for a long time. And this is the last, I guess this is a group that didn't play as grade 9s, and now they're in grade 12. and this is sort of the last of that COVID group. And so they've played a lot of basketball during COVID.
You do reload every year, but you have a core group who won the championship with you last year back as grade 12s. What's it like with Avery and the other grade 12s as they finish off their careers?
Well, this year's team is different than last year, even though we do have a lot of kids back. You don't know what you miss until you're gone. We missed Natalie Curley, 6'2", in the back end, so she was a great defender for us. And so we've had to have we're a little different team. We're a little different dynamic, but it's a good group, and they have been together for a long time. And we've had a pretty good year.
And so the challenge of trying to repeat, was it easier or more pressure last year, or are you feeling more pressure this year trying to do it again?
Well, I always feel pressure, like I don't know what pressure is, but excitement. I just find it exciting. Trying to get to the tournament is always a goal, always has been ever since I've been at Riverside, and you can't do well unless you get there. And so I don't know how much pressure there is. We really load up the start of our season, and we had some real challenging games and some real challenging times. So I don't think it's pressure. I think it's fun. I think it's excitement.
You have obviously been at the tournament for a long time, and what would you say the real power is of the Langley Event Center? And this year, first year, having all 4 A's at the tournament. Can you talk just about the tournament and what it means?
Well, I've been lucky to make it to the final the last 2 years, and the crowd has been incredible. We had a really young team 2 years ago when we played Terry Fox, and our kids were just they were just memorized. It was crazy, and it was really good. And last year it was kind of exciting. We were a little bit better prepared, and I saw Walnut Grove's crowd, and I was like in shock. I thought, oh my gosh, look at how many people they had. And then I turned my head and saw the Riverside people, and it's certainly the greatest environment I've been in as a coach and LEC does such a wonderful job, and it's great to go there, and it's great every year.
Well, thanks, Coach Langford. We look forward to seeing you out here starting next Wednesday at the Langley Event Center, and if everything falls into place, hopefully seeing you next Saturday night in a championship game. Thanks for joining us, and all the best.
Thanks, you two, for doing this. It's great. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, so there you have it, 1A, 2A, 3A, and 4A tournaments. You can, if you can't make it to the Langley Event Center on TFSE TV, you can stream all the games, but great to have you here at the Langley Event Center. Last year, sold out championships, biggest tournament ever, hoping to replicate that again this year. And so many teams trying to repeat. We talked about, at the 1A, 2A, and 4A levels, there's a team there who are trying to go back-to-back in their champions. And then at 3A, we've got Brookswood, who aren't really back-to-back, but it's kind of going back-to-back with their junior group trying to win in senior this year.
Yeah, we've definitely got a lot of history of championship winners in this year's tournament, so we're going to just have to wait and see who we crown for those 4 2024 champions this year.
All right, well, we thank all of you for joining us. We know you've gathered in schools and families' homes tonight, all of the teams. So many of them get together for pizza and parties as they find out who they're going to play in next week's tournament, and so appreciate that you spent the hour with us tonight, and you now get to spend the next week prepping for whoever you have in your first round matchup. As we say, come and join us at the Langley Event Center, BC School Sports, high school girls basketball championships all next week, all throughout all of the courts here. You can settle in for the day, and you can see 8 great games starting at 8:30 in the morning. Great to have you, Christina, join me today for the girls draw show. And we'll be doing this all again in just over a week's time as we get ready for the boys draw.
Yeah, you bet. Happy to be here. All right. Thanks, everybody. Good luck this year.
Yeah, in London, stand up. Look, I don't celebrate. Everyone scream next up, but I'm the #1 candidate. Captain's armband, I'm making key plays. When I'm doing shows, gotta get all prepaid. 42 flavors, I'm on a tea break. No side, know about these ways. I gotta let my skin fade marinate. We gotta toast up, celebrate. Everyone scream next up, but I'm the #1 candidate.
One, two, three, four. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Running Steves, a chance for history. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.